Hello again and welcome. I noticed there's a gap in my hammer rack, so let's fix that. Ta-da! So I am going to try to make another dog's head hammer. This one I'm aiming for somewhere closer to 3 pounds. That's kind of like my general purpose weight. It's one I can swing all day, and I just personally like the mechanics of a dog's head hammer. This is 4.5 inches. 4.5 inches of 1 3/4 square. At least it's pretty close to 1 3/4 square. This is actually an offcut from a 1 3/4 inch plate. It was CNC, looks like either plasma or flame cut. When I'm looking for material, I tend to troll eBay for offcuts weeks in advance. Oh man. So I've actually got these holes going a little bit crooked and off center. Just wasn't paying attention when I ran that ugly drift through them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this side in the fire down. We'll get that hot, and that way when we run the next size drift through there, it will open up on this side and not on the other side. So that's the theory. Also, we'll kind of adjust it and twist it off to one side to try to get going that way a little more. Let's see, my drift is not parallel to the handle, so I forgot that and wasn't paying attention and just stuck it in crooked. And don't worry about that little ugliness there. Once you get it in the hole, nobody cares. Driving it in diagonally. And we're just going to break our handle. That's nice. It's not like we needed that. We got them pretty close. What I did is I stuck the drift in it and then thinned out the section right there with the drift in place, drove it back in again, and that pushed this side out a little more. I'm going to do that one more time. So I'm actually going to leave this here for tonight. It's not terrible at this stage. I did screw up trying to use the guillotine. I was going to mark it to cut it, and I didn't realize I had skipped and left multiple marks, and yeah, I'm going to go ahead and cut it with an angle grinder. I'm just going to use a cut-off disc and just whiz off at this front line. And then maybe try to blend this second witness mark back into the steel, because I'm pretty sure I'm still going to want to take some more material off of this. The eyes actually turned out decent. Only thing I'm going to do is there's a little bit too much of a V in the center here. That needs to be straightened out a little bit, specifically straightened out on this side to get the handle to sit more in this line. Something that I don't like about this hammer that I still intend to fix is I need to open up this eye and get the handle to sit just a little bit more of an angle. Ideally, I would like the bottom of the handle to be parallel with the actual hammer face. Especially if you're hitting a tool, that extra angle really helps a lot without having to raise your shoulder or drop the other side, and it just puts you in a better position, I think, which is part of why I like dog's head hammers in the first place. I am probably going to just let this cool overnight. I'll probably stick it back in the fire and let it cool in the fire and use my die grinder or a file to clean out the inside. It's not a lot, but it's enough that I know if I try to chase that out with a drift or anything like that, I'm just going to open up this side of the hole, which is exactly what I did with this hammer. I know from making this one that I did that this needs to be handled differently. Also, I realized I cut the exact same amount of material for both of these hammers, which is why I'm trying to cut some length off of it. What I want is something specifically that's in between these two, because this is a good light work hammer. I think this is probably around the 2.5 pound range. It's not very heavy. Just for comparison, this one is a 4, and I know it's a 4. This one that I reforged is a 3 pound. I like this weight. I actually like it just a tiny bit heavier than this one. If I chop it off there, I should be just a tiny bit heavier than this hammer, which is exactly what I want. And that'll give me some room to grind and clean it up and make it look pretty. See what we ended up with. Not too bad. Definitely overweight, but to fix that. So I decided instead of trying to use my die grinder, I'm just using a die grinder bit in a drill. This is actually how I used to dress all of the eyes in my store-bought hammers before I started making them. Ooh, this thing's still pretty hard though. So it's coming along pretty well. I'm happy with the way it looks. I am going to leave it in a hammer finish. The only surfaces that'll have any kind of tooling taken to them will be the heel. I'm going to clean the heel up with a grinder, the face, and then the eyes. I think it'll work. I'm going to let it cool, work on something else for a little bit. Once it's cooled off, I'm going to do the grinding and the file work. I might go ahead and fit a handle before I try to harden it. Mostly just to see if the handle's going to sit in the place that I want it to relative to the face. Just going to harden the face, let it temper itself. I think I somehow managed to miss the rough grinding. I want to go ahead and test fit the handle real quick. I want to know that this doesn't need modification before I harden it in case it needs to be redrifted. Almost got a complete ring all the way around already. Which way, if anything, we actually want it to straighten up a little bit. That's almost perfect. Alright, and the last thing I'm going to try to do before I harden this is I just want to round off this corner so it doesn't bite into the handle. Because if these corners bite in, they create a stress point and then your hammers will break there, or your handles will break there. Just like that handle in the drift broke earlier, it'll do the exact same thing. And that's because that handle was just jammed in there. I didn't do any of that properly. You know, I kind of feel dumb for not realizing I could do this earlier. This is probably going to take a while. Okay, we're pretty well there. Got a little bit of a stick right in the center. So I think I've got enough time to move the camera and then we'll hook it. Yeah, I think we're there. Better enough anyway, for sure. Actually, I think we've already tempered it. Yeah, we're already getting color back in it. Here we are back at my nice clean bench. So, it came out pretty good. I let it temper the same way that I did this one. And this one has no appreciable wear on it, and it's been used a bunch. I am going to need to go back over it with some kind of flap disc to clean up the face. But it actually went a little bit lighter in color than I got the last one. Playing around with the file too much and didn't realize color was running up into it already. I think it'll be okay. Worst case scenario, I knock the handle out of it and I do the heat treating again. I mean, that's what I do. So, not a huge deal. I like the way it came out. It's a decent looking hammer. It's a little rougher than I had in my head, but I'm happy with it nonetheless. I have not tried the handle in it since I did the heat treat, and it is still dead solid. That's good. So I'm just gonna go ahead and drive the wedges and stuff in it, and we're gonna call it a day. I only have one wedge at the moment. Oh man, that thing's blunt. I don't know how normal people exist without anvils at home. Let me see if I can find another couple wedges. Alright, so I guess I'm not going to be able to finish this without making some new wedges. I could go buy some, but bleh. I'm really sad because I wanted to be done with this, but the world is what the world is. As far as the hammer itself so far, I'm really happy with it. It's the exact weight I wanted. It came out just about perfect as far as that goes. The handle sits right up parallel to the face, which is exactly what I wanted, with the exception of some of the errors I made with the eye, which honestly I think are mostly experience related. This is only like the 5th or 6th hammer I've made. So far, none of the dog's head hammers that I've made, which is only 3 of them, have actually came out the way I like them. This one's the closest one so far, with the little narrow kind of eye at the top, big eye at the bottom. And yeah, the only thing I am going to do tonight is I'm going to burn it. I prefer a charred and oiled handle like this guy. And then tomorrow I can make some new wedges and we can actually put it to use, finishing whatever I decide to start tomorrow. In theory, this is boiled linseed oil. And this mix of charcoal and soot and oil makes for a little bit of extra grip without being sticky or tacky. I know there's some like waxes and paraffin products that you can use that will make your ability to grip the handle a little bit easier, but they all tend to be either a little bit greasy or sticky and gummy, and that's just gross. Who likes that? Not me. Right when it's new, it does tend to be a little bit oily, but that does not last for very long. You do still end up with the smell of boiled linseed oil in your hands though for months. There we go. She is done. Ta-da! So we are definitely going to see this thing all over the channel. I'm excited to get it into use. And we'll do so tomorrow. Actually finished a project while I was in the interim waiting for this one to cool down. So, but I don't know what the next one after that is. But it will be something, and it will come, and I will see you then. Ah, that's nice. Now I'm going to need a bigger hammer rack.